So I'm almost finished with my university year. Most of you guys don't know what I study in, and it's actually game development and programming. And we're almost at the end of my year. This is my second year actually, but in order to actually succeed my year, I have an exam period where I need to make a certain project within a certain amount of time. I thought it would be a good video to make about it, but before we do that, we actually need to go first to my classes in order to know what my project is. So So now I knew what I had to do. We had 3 days to make a game, which was a small amount of time. For Christmas, we also had to make a game, and I had 2 weeks to make something. Now I only had 3 days, and it was all alone. I was absolutely fucked. So it was kind of like a game jam. So for people who don't know what a game jam is, it's like a certain amount of time where you make a game in a certain theme. The theme of this game jam / exam was actually Cadaver Exquis, or in English, Exquisite Corpse. This theme actually means like if I would make a subject and then pass it on towards this guy, and he would add a rule and then just pass it on towards this guy, who then also just adds a rule and then passes it back to me. And then we make a game out of that. But this time it wasn't exactly the same like that. It was more, we had a certain list with games that we could choose, and we could choose to remake those. The one that I actually chose was the dinosaur game from Google Chrome, where you just run around. Everyone knows it. You put the Wi-Fi off just to play it. Sometimes even in class, you're just not interested in your class. You just like put the Wi-Fi off and you press space and then it starts. Then you had a list of characters that you could choose from, and I chose the ninja one. So after you had chosen the character, you also had to choose a kind of theme, right? And you had a whole list, and I chose originally Cyberpunk, because I thought ninjas in Cyberpunk, that would be so cool, right? I didn't go for it because Cyberpunk themes were really hard to find, and I wanted to have something quickly up and aesthetically pleasing, so I just eventually went with a fantasy. That was way easier. There were way more sprites and everything that I can just find on Itch that I could just import and easily add without any issues. And the last thing that I also had to add was a new mechanic. I could choose between a whole list, but I thought it would be cool to just be able to slash down the enemies. I mean, it's cool, right? The first day I actually spent most of my time just trying to get a base of the game ready, just having like the standard Dinosaur Chrome game standing up, and then I could basically later on add the features I would want to add, right? I found this really cool ninja guy on itch.io, which actually perfectly fitted in the idea I had of the game. And then I just added so that the animations would sync up with my character, together with a parallax background, which is, if you don't know, it's just a still image with another image that moves a bit slowly and then one that moves a bit faster, and then so that it gives an illusion that you are actually just running. And I got this. After having made the core of the game, I also wanted to add a start screen and a score system, which would be on the top left, and then on the top right, high score. Now this didn't all go smooth. It's not like I just wrote like 5 lines of code and out of nowhere my game was fabulous like it already looked like. I had some minor issues, just like being able to play like the Flash in my game. To be honest, I was kind of advancing quite fast. When I first heard that we were only gonna have 3 days, I thought actually that I was completely ruined, that I would not be able to make anything in 3 days. Luckily for me, with the tiny bit of experience I already had in Godot, it was quite easy to just continue. And I'm really glad that I took the time to learn before this exam. So now I had the base game already set, except for one thing. There were no obstacles. In Dino Runner, you have these like cactuses and these birds that you gotta evade, and for the moment there was nothing. So I started working on an enemy generator, and instead of cactuses, they would all be just enemies. For the enemy types, I would have one flying enemy, which is this like eyeball-ish flying enemy. And then I added also 2 ground enemies. One was a small little goblin, which is quite cute. And then a death worm, which absolutely looked insane. Like the animation and the detail on this death worm was insane. I also added that when you left click on your mouse, it would play the animation of a sword, and if it would hit the enemy, it would kill him. And one of the things that I also worked on was adding some sound effects, because I didn't want it just to sound so bland. I just didn't want to have a game with no sound effects. In order to know if you could slash again, I also added a small little icon on the bottom right that would give a timeout every time you use your attack. I also, at the end of the day, just added a way to die, that when I would collide with my enemy, I would just get a death screen with a little audio that would play. And now I actually had done everything I had to do for my core game. I didn't have to do anything anymore, and we were only the second day, so I had one more day left and I didn't know what to do. I could just try and polish the game way more and make it absolutely perfect, flawless, with no bugs, or I could be a stupid little moron and decide I want more. Which one do you think I chose? Obviously being the stupid little moron. So on the morning of the third day, I decided, instead of just polishing the game, I wanted to add a little feature called character selection. I thought I could absolutely make this in one day without any experience on how to do it, and just say like, yeah, sure, I can do that. It took me, the problem was not the character selection. That actually, I got up in like 4 hours. It was noon, I was happy, I had character selection. I even showed to some of my fellow students, and they were like, oh my god. The thing is, I like doing things a little bit special, because I am someone a little bit special. I just didn't want to have like, I just didn't want to have just like one character. No, I added a third one, which was also able to completely change the game, because this one was able to throw kunai knives. And that was my biggest mistake right there. I had 6 hours left, so I just decided to let's just add that character. It will be easy. In like 2 hours, I will have someone throwing kunai knives, and it's awesome. And the game would be so much more fun, right? No, that's not how it works. Why would I think that was how it worked? Having throwable weapons is way harder than just having a collision with a sword. I realized that way too late. I almost fucked up my exam because of that, because I was struggling it so hard to make it work, because like sometimes it just didn't spawn, and then sometimes it did spawn but then it didn't detect, and it was a whole issue. But out of nowhere, an hour before my exam stopped, it started working, and I was so happy, because like it couldn't have worked better out. And so yeah, here's the gameplay of my game. I also made my own Patreon if you just want to support me, or if you maybe want to get the files of this game, you can just support me on Patreon. If you have any questions, don't forget to join my Discord server. I always respond on there. And yeah, have a nice day. See ya.